Hello, my name is Samantha Levin. I am a Special Collections Associate at the Fashion Institute of Technology Library's Unit of Special Collections and College Archives, also known as SPARC. My primary role here is the curator of digital and audiovisual assets. In 2019, Juana Suarez, director of the Moving Image Archiving and Preservation graduate program at New York University's Tisch School, contacted us about her student Zoe Yang, who is interested in examining the video collection housed at SPARC, that you see here. Initially, Zoe wanted to examine a small portion of our collection for a project and began coming to SPARC on a regular basis to do just that. We at SPARC were very excited about Zoe's interest. Our collection of close to 4,000 VHS and U-matic magnetic media cassette tapes hold rare and valuable content that would not only benefit fashion design and history researchers, but also provide insight into cultural heritage as a whole. The magnetic media crisis that all memory workers face, including archivists, librarians, is a major challenge for our collection as magnetic media was not manufactured to last, and the visual imagery that these tapes hold are slowly disintegrating. Zoe's initial project was challenged when the pandemic hit. Fortunately, she had the opportunity to physically examine a small portion of the video cassettes by then. However, SPARC shut its doors, and so Zoe was forced to complete the project remotely. Then, in the fall of 2020, she decided to widen the scope of that initial project and apply it to her wider thesis with the hope that FIT would reopen its campus. Unfortunately, we were not able to reopen to anyone unaffiliated with FIT until the current fall of 2021, but we were able to provide Zoe with metadata of the entire collection, as well as digital copies of 2 of the videos we had digitized shortly before lockdown. Regardless of these great limitations, her final thesis provides SPARC and the wider FIT College with a clear understanding of our video collection's value and preservation needs. This includes an examination of the current state of our holdings, our current digitization process and its limitations, challenges related to intellectual property, as well as recommendations for preservation and digitization moving forward. To work towards preserving the SPARC video collection, which requires much more than digitization, would require resources that we don't currently have. Zoe Yang's examination of our collection helped us take a valuable first step towards that end. Zoe presented her thesis by video recording hosted by New York University in the spring of 2021. At the time of this introductory recording, Zoe is pursuing a career in China. I now proudly introduced here her full thesis presentation republished with her permission. Again, thank you so much for this work, Zoe.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my MIAP thesis presentation. My name is Zoe Yang, and today I will be presenting my preservation project for the audiovisual collection at the Fashion Institute of Technology. The Fashion Institute of Technology is a public college located at 227 West 27th Street, New York City. It was officially founded in 1944 and became a part of the State University New York in 1951. The college dedicates to the education of subjects in fashion, fine arts, and liberal arts. Many of its offered programs focus on art, design, business, and technology within the fashion industry. SPARC stands for the Special Collection and College Archives, a department of the Gladys Marcus Library at FIT. SPARC comprises 8,000 rare books, 547 serial titles, 350 manuscript collections, 100 linear feet of archives, more than 500,000 works of art on paper, and about 4,000 audiovisual items. The mission of the special collection is to acquire, preserve, and provide access to reference materials to support the research of FIT students and faculty, as well as designers, scholars, and other industry professionals. In spring 2020, I conducted a collection assessment for the SPARC AV collection, which was brought to a halt due to COVID-19. In the process, 101 videotapes were inspected and inventoried, and they are used as samples for investigating the status of the collection. This thesis project is a continuation of my previous work to help provide more extensive preservation plans. And all works and communications with FIT were done remotely due to the restrictions of access to the library. Based on my original assessment, I found that the collection can be helped at the level of intellectual control, digitization plan, digital preservation workflow, and copyright clearance. In this project, I'm working with Spark to create a customized preservation workflow that can be implemented after the pandemic. In this presentation, I will address three aspects of my project. In the collection overview, I will talk about the background and current status of the AV collection. Then I will provide an outline of a proposed preservation plan, including goals for both the video and digital assets. And finally, I will address the copyright issues and concerns regarding the collection. The audiovisual items at Spark are all stored on-site in climate-controlled vaults. The assets are separated into two sections by their contents. One is part of the college archive stored in a vault called Spark 2, consisting of materials related to the institutional history. The processing of this collection is more advanced, and therefore it is not of concern to my thesis project. My focus is on the materials stored in the rare book and periodicals vault. These videos used to be in the general circulating collection at the FIT library. This audiovisual collection contains primarily videos recorded on consumer-grade magnetic tapes and optical discs. The videos were mostly acquired by the library from the 1970s to the early 2000s. No current library staff member has worked on the acquisitions. The institutional records of these items were also extremely inadequate. Therefore, there is limited to no information available on the origins and sources of these videos. In 2008, this video collection was transferred from the circulating library to the special collection. Before the pandemic, when a video is requested by a researcher, the Spark archivists will digitize the video based on demand and provide a DVD access copy to the patron. This audiovisual collection consists of a wide variety of contents, mostly reference materials for the study of fashion. The collection covers runway shows, interviews, fashion events, instructional videos, commercial productions, and much more. The runway shows constitute a large portion of the collection. Among them are runway recordings of many internationally renowned fashion houses and designer brands. The library staff members believe that there are many unique and rare videos among the runway recordings. Therefore, they currently hold the highest preservation priority. Yet, Spark is in need of a more comprehensive inventory to determine the exact number and range of unique items. This slide shows that the current inventory lacks some necessary metadata. Its accuracy and clarity have to be greatly improved to provide a complete picture of the collection. Based on my preliminary observation of the assets, the media formats are mostly VHS, U-matic, and DVDs. Almost all of the 101 tapes inspected are in fair physical conditions from external observation. A number of the VHS tapes are mildly dusty on the shell, possibly due to being stored in the circulating collection. Other than this, all tapes and cassette shells show no visible sign of foreign particles, tears, mold, or shedding. However, magnetic tapes are subjected to problems such as the loss of signal over time and bender degradations. In this particular case, it is also unknown if the dust particles have yet entered the shell and contaminated the tape. Also, the tapes had been stored in the non-climate controlled library for possibly decades before being moved to the special collection vaults. Therefore, we cannot be sure if the tapes are indeed in good condition without inspecting them on playback decks. Obsolescence can also be a risk for analog videos. The University of Illinois' Preservation Self-Assessment Program recognizes the U-matic format to be at high preservation risk due to media and hardware obsolescence. At this moment, the digital formats in this collection are readable optical discs, possibly DVD-R and DVD-RW. They contain videos that are reformatted from analog tapes using an on-site digitization station for researcher access. The DVD formats are not designed for long-term preservation storage, especially as DVD-RW, a rewritable DVD format, is very susceptible to material degradation, short life expectancy, and risks of data loss. DVD-R, which can only be written once, is relatively more stable. Based on these factors, the current digital storage formats used at Spark has to be replaced when long-term digital preservation is considered. The Spark team is currently working on transferring some of the DVD files to a temporary Google Drive. I had access to 2 of the digital files to check their formats using Media Info. The FIT Library's digitization station consists of a Sony VP9000 U-matic SP videocassette player, a Sony RDR-VX560 VHS VCR/DVD recorder, and a CRT monitor. The VHS/DVD recorder enables recording contents from a VHS or U-matic tape to a DVD automatically without using a computer. It is a very simple setup and only fulfills the task of reformatting analog tapes to DVD discs with a CRT playback in real time. The table on the lower right shows the video properties of a digital video ripped from a DVD. According to these results, the specs are adequate as an access or maybe mezzanine copy, but not as a preservation file, because DV is a compressed video codec and the bitrate is relatively low for preservation purposes. Therefore, these videos still need to be digitized again in the future to create appropriate preservation copies. In regards to the intellectual control, the FIT library currently has a catalog using the ALMA library service platform, which was implemented in 2019. It is a widely used library services system that unifies library assets and provides API for functions such as acquisition, administration, analytics, metadata management, cataloging, and resource sharing. ALMA supports modern metadata and open standards, allowing shared catalogs in library communities. All of the SUNY schools employ the ALMA system as their library platform. The library catalog is currently considered as the most comprehensive inventory that Spark has for its AV collection. Yet, some metadata in the catalog, such as audiovisual format, is not completely accurate and require further verification in the future. A new inventory project was initiated in late 2019 to collect more accurate metadata for the videos at Spark. The library uses Airtable as a pseudo-relational database. It is a management system launched in 2013. Its framework is close to a collaborative spreadsheet. It has diverse functions and can provide linked and integrated data across different spreadsheets. The video inventory in Airtable was extracted from the ALMA catalog, and the Spark team is working on making adjustments to it. which will eventually be ingested back into ALMA. Before the pandemic, the Spark team members were working on collecting more administrative, descriptive, and copyright information at the atom level. For the purpose of this presentation, I'm addressing two predominant issues with the current collection metadata. Firstly, the AV atoms are cataloged based on the Library of Congress classification system, which was designed mostly for books, not audiovisual materials. When the atoms were first cataloged, some library catalogers would mark the bibliographic record as VHS, and every atom under the entry, whether it is a U-matic or DVD, would be cataloged as VHS regardless. Another problem is the lack of technical metadata, such as the AV formats, which can be a significant factor in determining the preservation priorities. In conclusion, the collection needs advancements on its intellectual control before taking other preservation actions, such as mass digitization. After addressing the current status of analog and video assets, as well as intellectual control, in the next section I will talk about preservation goals. The short-term goals in video preservation should focus on increasing intellectual control over the collection and minimize deterioration due to handling and storage. The task of cataloging should be prioritized for Spark. Completing the existing inventory will be a crucial step to correct the inaccuracies and gather metadata to prepare for future preservation actions. Spark can refer to standards such as PBCore to add more fields for descriptive and technical metadata that can provide more insights into the types of contents in the collection. Also, an atom-level assessment will lay the cornerstone for any future digitization initiatives. During the previous assessment, I also found atoms that have damaged plastic containers, falling off labels, or still have the recording tabs intact. These issues can be addressed in a collection-wide inspection that also helps update the inventory. As the tapes are currently stored in a climate-controlled environment, the main goal in video preservation for Spark will be digitization. VHS and U-matic tapes were developed for the general consumer market. They were not designed to have a long life expectancy or to be used as preservation formats. Therefore, it is necessary to transfer the content to digital formats for preservation and easier access. The digitization priority may be set according to copyright releases, the uniqueness and the research value of the content, as well as the deterioration speed and obsolescence of the original format. The library firstly needs to identify duplicate copies through assessment and possibly inspect with a playback deck to select the best copy for digitization. It is recommended for Spark to use a vendor service to digitize the collection. The previous section shows that the on-site digitization station lacks some essential components in producing preservation level captures. To develop this station also requires training of current staff members or employing a new audiovisual archivist. In such cases, using vendor services may be a more cost-effective choice for Spark. These two tables show some codecs and wrappers that are generally used for archiving analog magnetic media. The criteria are partially referring to the Library of Congress sustainability factors of digital formats. Besides the risk of format obsolescence, Spark also needs to consider factors such as institutional storage space and access needs in choosing the most appropriate digital formats and specs. Spark is still at a preliminary stage in terms of digital preservation. As stated before, most of the digital contents within the collection are stored on writable DVDs, which have to be changed into other forms of storage that grant better practices in preservation. The FIT library uses Omeka as the digital asset management system. and the framework for their two online access platforms. One is Spark Digital for digitized image collections, and the other is Archive on Demand for video content. These video contents are not from the videotape collection we're talking about. They are mostly born digital videos created by other college departments. Archive on Demand is not a digital depository but an instance of Omeka that delivers videos from FIT's YouTube channels. The original video files are still maintained by different FIT departments. Because of these factors, Spark is now working on building a digital repository, a task that holds a high priority in Spark's preservation initiatives. The repository will change the current method of storage on optical media. It will help streamline the workflow and provide better stewardship for all digital assets in the archive, including the digitized video collections. The repository will also be used to collect born digital items from all departments to establish centralized control of digital archival materials. In conclusion, having an institutional repository can be fundamental for any long-term preservation efforts. The digital repository will be built based on an Archivematica framework using cloud storage. Archivematica is an integrated suite of open-source software tools that allows users to process digital objects from ingest to access. The design of Archivematica complies the ISO Open Archival Information System reference model. In Archivematica, the information packages are processed using a series of microservices provided by a combination of Python scripts and tools bundled in the system. The primary function of Archivematica is to process digital transfers, creating ZIPs, apply format policies, and create repository-independent apes. It can also upload DIPs containing metadata and access copies to several different access platforms. Similar to the current procedure, Omeka-S will be used as a system API to publish access copies from the depository. The available videos will be uploaded to the FIT Archive on Demand website and possibly YouTube. Spark will use Amazon Glacier to store the archival information packages. It is a cloud service for data archiving and long-term backup. It is relatively low cost with delayed retrieval services. Standard Amazon S3, on the other hand, provides a general type of cloud storage with faster retrieval speed and higher cost. It will be used to store assets that may need to be retrieved more frequently, such as the access copies of digital videos. The metadata standard for all digital archival assets will be mainly based on the Dublin Core. Yet, some fields from the metadata object description schema, also known as modes, will be incorporated to specify the role of personnel or organizations related to an entry. For the long-term digital preservation goals, Spark will need to standardize its workflow after creating the new repository and DAMs. For this part, I'm only focusing on the digitized videos from the videotape collection. The NDSA levels of digital preservation can be a general reference in establishing long-term goals. Spark should aim to achieve and maintain the highest possible preservation level that the available resources can sustain. In terms of storage, Spark should have multiple copies, preferably in different geographic locations and on different storage media types. As the main repository uses cloud storage, Spark can consider using an LTO tape storage vendor for separate backup copies of the collection. For assets that have high preservation priorities or are frequently accessed, Spark can use hard drive-based storage systems on-site as another copy. For data integrity, the information packages should contain fixity information, which needs to be verified during any form of transfer and migration. Backing up integrity information documenting the verification processes, and running checksums at fixed intervals can help Spark achieve a more advanced level in fixity control. It is also necessary to determine and document the authorized human and software who can read, write, move, and delete contents to ensure protection over the data. In terms of metadata, adequate administrative, technical, descriptive, preservation, and structural metadata has to be collected. As the digital repository's metadata standard will be Dublin Core, which is not created specifically for AV materials, Spark may need to incorporate elements from standards such as PB Core to catalog properties that are unique to digital videos, such as duration, data rate, and more. The video formats should be documented, verified, and possibly monitored for obsolescence. The Library of Congress Sustainability of Digital Formats provides detailed analysis of all prevalent audiovisual wrappers and codecs. The element of access also needs to be considered when developing digital preservation procedures. According to Shira Peltzman's addition to the NDSA levels, the archive should first be able to ensure the security of materials during access, while identify and redact sensitive materials if there are any. Catalogs, finding aids, or inventories should be available for users to search. In Spark's case, the updated inventory will be ingested to Alma, and the online video access platforms will have search functions. In conclusion, the current goals for Spark's AV collection will be to enhance metadata, initiate digitization projects, and develop digital preservation standards and workflows. In the next section, I will address the copyright situation in the collection. The issue of copyright has been a complex problem in initiating Spark's video digitization project. Spark will need rights release from many parties if they want to provide wider access to the public. It also requires much effort in conducting due diligence and research on the copyright owners. For events that were recorded on the FIT property or were organized by FIT, the rights likely belong to the institution. Yet, a large portion of the collection comprises materials that were acquired through other methods, and the library did not have clearances at the time of acquisition. The U.S. copyright law, Section 108A, allows libraries to reproduce one copy of every work in the collection for on-premise access. Therefore, technically, Spark can still proceed with digitization, and the files can only be accessed in the library. On the other hand, Spark may face many risks if they intend to publish the contents online, because Section 108 does not cover the public distribution of copyrighted works. According to Section 107, fair use can be argued in this case as the distribution is for educational purposes only. A takedown policy may be used for a Spark's online video access. If a rights owner reaches out against the distribution, Spark can then restrict the access accordingly. FIT will need further professional copyright law consultation and risk assessment on this issue. Another problem is that without right release or evidence of ownership, it will be more difficult to apply for preservation grants. Therefore, researching for rights owners and conduct due diligence remains a high priority for Spark before starting a mass digitization project. As mentioned before, the runway videos have the highest preservation priority in the collection. In 2018 and 2019, Spark has sent out letters to domestic fashion houses asking for permissions to digitize and publish their runway videos on the Internet Archive. So far, Spark has received permission from 9 fashion brands, including Bill Blass, Anna Sui, Calvin Klein, and others. 33 more brands still need to respond to cover the entire domestic runway recording collection. This presentation illustrates an overview of my thesis project by addressing the status, issues, and goals, as well as my visions and advice for preserving this collection. I would like to say thank you to Samantha Levin and Karen Trevette from FIT, my thesis advisor Juana Suarez, as well as my cohort and professors for your support. Thank you everyone for listening, and please feel free to reach out with questions and comments.